This is it, bro. Like, it come down to Caitlyn, bro. It is what it is, man. Caitlyn, you gotta take a stand, man. You stand for something or you die. You'll fall for anything, man. Caitlyn Clark, you gotta take this, y'all, and it's plain and simple. Caitlyn Clark has to give the Indiana Fever an ultimatum. That's right. I've been disgusted all day about this piss poor, embarrassing performance from the players and most of all from this coaching staff. Stephanie White, I'll say it again, you are a pure bum of a coach. Trash.
Hold up. Did Stephanie White just unlock hard mode for coaching disasters? Because after that Fever blowout, Caitlyn Clark fans didn't just react, they revolted. We're talking pitchforks, memes, and more smoke than a Waffle House kitchen at 3 a.m. The backlash has arrived, it's loud, it's messy, and Stephanie might want to delete Twitter. What really went down? Why are fans calling foul? And is this the beginning of the end, or just the start of chaos? Let's get into it.
To watch a 19-point loss, Caitlyn Clark's return, in which, since this is a lady we're talking about, it looks like Stephanie White has spaded Caitlyn Clark, for lack of a better way of putting it. If it was a dude, I'd say neutered, but, you get my point. She has taken away Caitlyn Clark's greatest asset, which is the creator and instigator of...
Apparently someone handed Stephanie White a remote control from 1997, pressed slow motion, and lost the fast forward button. Because watching the Indiana Fever's offense is like sitting in a DMV line, long, uneventful, and weirdly exhausting. Fans didn't sign up for a walking basketball tutorial narrated by paint drying. They tuned in for the Caitlyn Clark show, and instead they're getting reruns of Where Are They Passing It Now?, starring nobody, cutting and featuring no spacing.
All right, y'all, so I'm getting concerned. I'm getting concerned about Caitlyn Clark's future with the Indiana Fever, because it's not just that they're losing these games, it's the manner in which they're losing. It's the low shot attempts from Caitlyn Clark. It's the low usage from Caitlyn Clark. It's the having her in the corner, coming off these screens, getting the ball on the wing, and then her losing the basketball, keep getting the ball in these unfavorable positions. She is at her best when she's pushing it up the floor, coming off the screen with Aaliyah Boston. You're not even doing that anymore. It seems like the Indiana Fever aren't prioritizing Caitlyn Clark's growth as a player, but what they're prioritizing is the system of basketball that Stephanie White has ran throughout the entire...
The Fever offense has all the urgency of a Sunday nap. There's Clark, buzzing with electricity, doing cartwheels through screens, ready to launch the next highlight into orbit. Only for the play to stall as her teammates politely jog around like they're looking for an Uber pickup. And poor Caitlyn? She's stuck watching the offensive game plan dissolve like sugar in lukewarm water. She's not just the best point guard in the league. She's doing it while babysitting a system that feels like it was drawn up on a napkin at an IHOP.
Stephanie White puts out a lineup yesterday. Aaron McDonald starting at point. Kelsey Mitchell's at shooting guard. Caitlyn Clark's at small forward. And I'm like, what is going on? Are we trying smaller lineups? I guess, okay, but are we doing a point forward situation? Is that what we're doing? We're doing a LeBron James point forward. No, the hell we ain't. We ain't. We're just running the same old, I want to say same old offense, but I don't know what that offense is.
And let's talk about that coaching staff decision-making, which seems to involve a dartboard, a blindfold, and a firm belief in chaos theory. Because benching Lexi Hull? That's not a strategy. That's a cry for help. The one player bringing defensive grit, effort, and some actual spacing gets yanked while the rest of the lineup wanders around like it's a flash mob that forgot the choreography. Fans have started taking screenshots of the rotations and putting them through AI just to figure out if anyone knows what's happening.
Stephanie White's not going to change. Stephanie White is not going to change. Stephanie White is not going to stop until her style of drag everyone down to their level basketball prevails. She's not going to change. And I do not think that we're going to see very much of Stephanie White, or very much of the Fever playing good basketball under Stephanie.
Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is still out there delivering perfect passes into the void, threading needles to teammates who catch the ball and then go into existential crisis mode. Dribble, hesitate, pass it back, reset, repeat. That's not a style, it's an affliction. It's like the coaching staff went out and found the only speed setting that makes Caitlin look less like Caitlin. You've got the league's most dynamic point guard, and somehow you've convinced her to stand in the corner half the time like she's waiting to sub in. Newsflash, the corner is not her destiny, it's her punishment. At this point, you could replace the Fever's offensive sets with a middle school team's pickup game, and nobody would notice. Actually, scratch that. The middle schoolers would at least run the floor. You've got one of the most dangerous shooters in the game, a generational passer, and instead of letting her create, we're watching her hand the ball off and then vanish into off-ball exile. This isn't basketball, it's witness protection.
To this, you guys. As long as Stephanie White is here, we'll never see the true greatness that Caitlin Clark has within her. We'll never see it. Caitlin Clark has to march up to that front office and say, hey, look, either you guys are going to fix this and we're going to do it my way, or I will not put on this jersey and I will not allow you guys to profit off of me any longer. It's that simple. You want her or you want me? I'm going to pick the coach. I'm going to tell you what players I want on.
The fans, they're cracking. The patience has evaporated. People went from live tweeting every Clark assist to Googling, can fans file coaching malpractice lawsuits? The mood has shifted from hopeful to hostile, and the crowd doesn't even boo anymore. They just sigh in unison like a bad studio audience. One of the only players bringing actual defensive effort and glue girl hustle gets buried on the bench, while we get treated to a carousel of mismatched lineups that couldn't gel if they were super glued together. Who's in charge of the rotations? A magic 8-ball? A fortune cookie? Because from the outside, it looks like someone's just pulling names out of a hat and hoping for vibes. At this point, even opposing teams look confused. They come in preparing for Clark, get 3/4 of off-ball meandering, and start wondering if they were lied to in the scouting report. Coaches come in bracing for fire and end up facing molasses. They're winning games by just showing up. And Caitlin? She's doing everything short of cloning herself and subbing in as her own center.
I don't know what Stephanie White is doing. First, the Golden State Valkyries just cracked the Indiana Fever. Like there's no way to go around it. They're playing an envious style of basketball, I would say, something that, you know, when I think of the Indiana Fever, I'm like, yo, they need to be running the offense like that. And I was absolutely baffled by the decision to start Ari McDonald, Kelsey Plum, and Caitlin Clark, and to play her at the...
This isn't just wasted potential, it's active sabotage by stubbornness. You've got the most talked about rookie in decades, and you're running plays that would struggle to break a press at a church league. The floor general, the creator of spacing, rhythm, and magic. And yet, she's being treated like a casual swing player in a system that looks allergic to innovation. Every minute she's not initiating offense is a minute lost in the void. This is like asking Mozart to hum quietly in the background while someone else fumbles with the piano. What's even more wild, the coach keeps doubling down on it. The more the offense collapses, the more the pace crawls. It's like someone took a broken record, turned it into a playbook, and decided repetition is the new revolution. The fans are begging for action, screaming for tempo, pleading for the ball to stay in Clark's hands. And in response, they're getting rotations that feel like performance art, except nobody's clapping at the end.
Running a motion offense, and Caitlin Clark is not a player that plays within an offense. She is an offense. Caitlin Clark is more of a James Harden type. She's more of a Luka Doncic type. She's the type that you have to give the ball to and allow to do whatever she wants to, but Stephanie White is putting her in this box. There were so many plays where Ari McDonald would bring it up, and then Caitlin Clark would come off these screens that weren't even good screens. They weren't even good picks, and then you're seeing the Indiana Fever offense totally crash, or Caitlin Clark might not touch the ball until 9 seconds left in the shot clock because it's went through Ari McDonald, it's went through Sophie Cunningham, and then finally it goes to Caitlin Clark, and she has 9 seconds to actually make a shot. Caitlin Clark is obviously the reason why everybody's watching.
The Fever don't just look lost. They look committed to being lost. Like they printed out a treasure map, burned it for warmth, and now they're wandering the court, hoping Caitlin bails them out with a miracle floater. Or Logo 3, the fan base isn't just disappointed. They're in open revolt. And not the cute kind, the kind that shows up with receipts, compiles stats, rewatches tape, and drops 3-minute TikToks analyzing why the benching of Lexi was the final straw. What started as a slow burn is now a bonfire. And the irony? It all could have been avoided by just letting Caitlin cook, give her the ball, open the floor, and let the game breathe. Instead, we got this stilted, overthought, underwhelming brand of basketball that's turned excitement into agony. You don't build a franchise by dimming your brightest star. You do it by letting her set the sky on fire. And right now, it feels like the Fever are doing everything they can to hand her a fire extinguisher instead.
I don't know the story about Stephanie White. Why she likely is like this. You're wondering, like, how did she see Caitlin Clark play like this and decide, you know what, nah, we're going to build through Ari McDonald. Stephanie White, in the years of, like, 2015-ish, she went to Vanderbilt. And she tried to play an up-tempo offensive game, and they were terrible. They were terrible. She couldn't win a game. And then she goes to the Connecticut Sun and says, screw offense. And by the way, that Connecticut Sun team are good offensive players. Bree Jones is a good offensive player.
Even Stevie Wonder can see that. Caitlin Clark is a point guard, not a decoy, not a corner statue, not a glorified cardio machine logging 30 minutes of wind sprints. A point guard, the best one in the league, possibly the best to ever enter it. Because watching her use Caitlin is like watching someone buy a Ferrari and then ask if it takes diesel. There's only so much talent you can mismanage before fans start checking out, and wow, are people checking out fast. Like Amazon Prime fast, like forgot I had League Pass until my card got charged again fast. And at this point, who could blame them? We've got officials who can't call a game if it's not written in Comic Sans. We've got agendas outpacing the actual competition, and a commissioner who treats controversy like a feature, not a bug. The whole thing's starting to feel like a late-night sketch where everyone's in on the joke except the audience. Bad calls? Oh, that's just part of the fun. Selective enforcement? Totally normal. A player gets body checked into next Tuesday and the whistle suddenly takes a coffee break.
Lack of focus, lack of knowing the game plan. How do you summarize kind of what you saw out there?
No, I was disappointed because I felt like there was a lack of competitive fire. With the exception of about 2 5-minute spurts, our attention to detail was poor. I'm not sure if it's not knowing the game plan as much as, because if it's not knowing the game plan, then that's a whole nother.
The officiating is less about maintaining fairness and more about making interpretive dance out of the rulebook. Caitlin gets clobbered on drives, and the referees blink like they're in a staring contest with reality. Let's talk about the unspoken but very loud elephant in the room, the old guard. The gatekeeping energy in the league is so strong, it could hold a medieval castle. It's like a club where everyone's got their seats, and if you try to bring in a new name, you better be ready for a background check and a 12-step hazing process. New talent? Cool. Just don't outshine the veterans or try to, win differently. There's this unspoken rule in WNBA world. If you're flashy, successful, or, heaven forbid, drawing more viewers than the legacy players, then you must be humbled. Not through competition, of course, through benchings, fouls, and silent treatments. You could average 30 points and 10 assists, but if you don't fit the unspoken mold, you're getting treated like a walk-on.
There is so much about this game that needs to change, because I was going over some of the stats, I was going over some of the points and what was changing, and honestly, from the coaching to the players, this game needed to change completely. Now, I do understand that the Indiana Fever are a team that have faced a lot of changes, a lot of adversity. There's been so much inconsistency. There has not been able to be any time to find a rhythm, really. And just as the team was finding a rhythm with their defense, playing without Caitlin Clark, she comes back in. And, Caitlin Clark is what makes this team really fun to watch. And it was great to see the Indiana Fever succeed in those 2 games that they won.
And as if the on-court chaos wasn't enough, there's a growing sense that the league has been hijacked by vibes over vision. Instead of building a brand around generational talent and quality play, it's become a sandbox of side quests. People tuning in to watch basketball are now stuck navigating a labyrinth of rainbow hashtags, personal feuds, passive-aggressive interviews, and PR campaigns that feel more like performative TED Talks than sports content. And it's not even about inclusivity, because real inclusivity doesn't overshadow talent. This isn't about representation, this is about distraction. It's about putting so much fluff on the screen that fans forget there's supposed to be a basketball game happening. Somewhere in the middle of choreographed TikToks and group photo ops, the actual point got lost. Meanwhile, the league's leadership is sitting comfortably, apparently immune to the storm brewing in the stands. Kathy Engelbert looks more like a silent partner than a commissioner, just casually allowing chaos to reign, decisions to be made in back rooms, and fans to slowly trickle out like air from a balloon. The house is on fire, and the response is a press release about empowering narratives.
Well, Caitlin Clark returned today to the Indiana Fever, and it was not enough for them to pull off the win against the Valkyries. The Valkyries actually had control pretty much the whole game. Their largest lead, 23, was the Valkyries' largest lead, and 9 was Indiana's largest lead. Caitlin ended with 10 points, 4 turnovers. The only person that had more turnovers than her was Tiffany Hayes. She had 6, but she did have a plus in the plus minus. Tiffany did. Indiana did shoot better from the free throw line. They were 93%, and the Valkyries were 76%. But the Valkyries shot a better field goal percentage and three-point percentage.
There's a reason the audience has started looking at each other like, are we the only ones seeing this? Because this isn't about one bad call or one benching. This is about a pattern, a system that looks allergic to common sense. The fans are not just frustrated, they're exhausted, tired of watching their favorite player boxed into a system designed to mute her brilliance, tired of the inconsistencies, the backstage drama, the clear bias, and the endless stream of distractions dressed up as league progress. And if you want to know how bad it's gotten, just ask the fans who've already mentally checked out. Some are still watching out of loyalty, some out of habit, but more and more are hitting that unsubscribe button emotionally, if not literally. They came in full of hope, ready for a new era, and got handed a recycled sitcom with none of the laughs.
Look, Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White clearly like and respect one another, right? But that doesn't mean they always see eye to eye. And I am beginning to suspect more and more that there's a bit of a divide between the way that they see the game and the way that they think the Indiana Fever should play. You can just hear what they have to say and connect the dots a little bit. Not to mention, it didn't go well against the Golden State Valkyries. That was obvious to everybody, of course.
Because this was supposed to be different. Caitlin Clark wasn't just a great college player. She was a moment, a movement, a surge of excitement the WNBA hasn't felt in years. And yet, the system responded with the grace of a toddler knocking over a chessboard. And now, the message is loud and clear. Unless you play the way the league wants you to play, you'll be sidelined, minimized, or simply turned into wallpaper. About every kid who saw her shoot logo threes and thought, I want to do that, only to learn the league isn't quite ready for the revolution she represents. It's about every viewer who showed up for greatness and got stuck watching grown adults misuse generational talent like it's a secondhand lawnmower. The silence from leadership is deafening. The stubbornness from coaching is baffling. And the entire ecosystem is starting to feel like a bizarre reality show where basketball is the subplot. So yeah, Stevie Wonder could have told you from day one, Caitlin Clark is a point guard. Now someone please forward that memo to the only people who still haven't read it.